Today I reflected on the experience of talking about relationships and male and female roles, and the thing that came to mind was like I was resonating on I don't need anybody to pay my bills, but then the contrast of having to help me. And I just reflected on some things such as, if I need to go get my car, can I get some help doing that? If there was an unexpected bill or issue with a car that was pretty huge on either side, can you help me with that? Can I help you with that? And I just think about team. What does it mean to be a team today? With the brokenness, with the healing, with the wholeness, with the trust, are we in relationship just for specific sections versus a complete relationship? I reflect on how people say, well, I want you for this, but I can't allow you to come in this area because of whatever reason. And that is a delicate issue surrounding trust, insecurity, and control. I even look at when people do certain things for another. Maybe I'm coming from cross town to bring you lunch or whatever, and it's a more convenient place to come closer to where you are versus get the thing that you really want, which is not a problem, but it's just, are we so into I gotta have that specific thing more important than the time that needs to transpire for each of us to get to whatever situation there is? And at the end of the day, you give the gift that is desired versus complaining about something that you chose to do. But just in the team of a thing, the theme of team, I want to make sure that we just are a little bit more considerate and appreciative of people going out their way. Because if you can't say thank you, if nothing else, there's no appreciation for that. If you can't be there for somebody who you know was there for you, there's no true appreciation. Sometimes we get in this world of me, or this narcissistic society, or this selfie society, which is short for selfish, my opinion, of course, but a selfie is really with only one person on there. At any rate, just thinking about individualism versus team, and whether in business or in relationship, how do teams build? Teams build through trust. Teams build through being considerate with one another. Teams build with helping one another. Teams build with giving tasks and having those tasks followed through. Teams build by intentionally and actively listening. Actively listening sometimes means a head nod versus an interjection. Actively listening can interject for a question for clarity, but sometimes your question may be a little early for the communication to have been complete. The person may have had that answer to the question if you just let them finish speaking. And I recognize some of us are so focused on our agenda or our objective or our thought process that we're not considering another person's thought process. And this is not really good or bad issue versus a what's more conducive or productive for the communication. Without communication, teams are not well built. I recognize that no matter with whom I'm working, I must recognize what their mental makeup is. Is this a person who I can give a few directions to and they can follow through? Do they have their own way of doing it? But for this particular client, I need you to do it this way. Is it my child where I have to spell out things in a certain way based on age, experience, maturity? Is this a situation where I can respect your way, but I need you to do it my way based on the situation or materials at hand? Because some people will do it their way, but use up more supplies than required to complete the job. I look at whether dealing with an ex-mate and the sensitivity of anything that I say can be used as a trigger for whatever trauma was created during that mate hate cycle, which is a whole nother story. I'll talk on that one day. But just going through people left you where you were versus understand who you've grown to be, and don't recognize their part in the situation that caused frustration and the ultimate division. With that being said, you have to take in effect who your audience is and with whom you're communicating. I even consider when speaking with my parents, because you're still a child to them no matter how grown you are. And there's still a certain level of respect, even when you may have a parent who doubts your ability to do a certain thing, or who's so caring and who's so used to being a lead that it's hard for them to give over the torch of allowing you to lead. And these are things that should be considered for effective communication for the situation if you want a productive outcome with that situation. So I recognize that to build a team, first you got to know who you talking to. Second, once you know who you talking to, give directions based on that person and always respect them and leave them with their, and I'm stealing this from Andrew Young, leave them with their dignity. Meaning, I don't have to insult you or demean you or talk down to you or say some smart remark to communicate what I'm trying to say. And if I do say something that is offensive, be quick to apologize and say, hey, either that was or was not my intention. If it was my intention, I apologize, I'm wrong. I got to grow from that. Or if it wasn't the intention, hey, I respect you, I appreciate you, I love you, whatever the situation is, that's not my intention. And move forward with it. Hit it and move forward with the progression of the situation. And even with that, are you dealing with someone who's so sensitive that they can't get past any infraction that happens? I tell you, sometimes you don't have a team because people are so in the past that they can't move forward or progress with building something now. And that could be a co-parent with raising a child. That could be a mate with traumas that have nothing to do with you. Whatever it is. Because some people can only have faith on what they see versus have faith in God brought me to this personal situation, so I know he's going to see me through it. Which goes back to a relationship with God. If you're not communicating with God on a regular basis, then how do you know with whom you should be in team with or not? Or how do you know what task, even if you do have a team, that you should take on or not? I know certain jobs I don't want to take on. I don't feel blessed to take them on. And it's not even about some anxieties that I've had. It's like a no-go. God is like, don't do this job. And sometimes I just tell them straight up no. Sometimes I bid it to the highest price so I can outsource it to somebody else who can do it. And even in relationships, you got to know, like, did God say you had permission to date this person? Now, we got free will. We can do what we want to do. But you got to look at, like, when you were in your relationship time communicating with God, did he ordain this for you as a blessed situation? Season, reason, or lifetime, did he ordain this? And grace is sufficient, but sometimes we end up begging for mercy because we put ourselves in a situation that cause some undesirable and unforeseen issues to come about. I do believe in building your team, and I want to stay on focus without getting too sidetracked. I do believe in teams prospering. I do believe in, even if you're just in a marriage or a relationship, you should be able to work together with things. If you know there's a certain area where this person has wisdom or expertise, then you should yield to that and let them help you instead of being so guarded that your hand has to be on everything. Some people do not recognize that that's just not their gift to do, and they need to let go of it because they keep going through the same pattern or fault or destruction or hurt or whatever the situation is that keeps them from being productive in that area. And I know there are some things I've just had to let go of. For example, I stopped installing Windows because I found a company that is very efficient, very effective, and very cost friendly, for lack of a better word. I realized that if you have your hand in everything, you're eventually going to spread yourself thin with certain things that you're going to spread yourself thin with certain things that you do. I was, currently I'm working on a paint job, and I haven't done a paint job in a while. So I had to remind myself of, okay, this is what you need to do. Okay. Sometimes I'll watch a video on it or whatever. And then I'll call my mentors or whatever and say, hey, I'm doing this, give me a refresher or recap or this, that, and the other. And, I use that wisdom, even though they may not be able to come and physically help me, but I use that wisdom to say, hey, let me go into this job fresh mentally. I even had one guy who left a company and was becoming independent, who is a very good painter, to come through and help me with an exterior part of it, and got more wisdom, just seeing different ways and strategies of doing it. Not that I couldn't do it, but it was like, this needs to be done quickly. So I don't have time to be playing around with it, especially being that this is not something I do every day or whatever. Because I could be, in one day, I could be a plumber, a carpenter, electrician, cutting grass, and cleaning all of. I've done all this in one day. And I recognize that when you have so many hats and you're good at those different hats, sometimes it's good to have someone who just specifies in that one area to come help you out on that team. And you can take your hands off that because they can do it much faster than you, because that's what they do all the time. And they have a relationship with it where they're graced to speed up the process. And going back to, I've just learned, hey, everything, I don't have to be an island on everything, but I can be effective and do certain things well without the detriment of having to do it solo by myself. I recognize that, and I'm looking at my notes now because I trying to make sure I covered everything. When you feel that division is the best way to do things, that's a sign of brokenness. When you feel that you can't get help with things, that's a sign of brokenness and selfishness. When you feel like everything has to go your way, or you have to have your hand on everything, or the money that's generated from a certain project has to just go to you, it's selfish. God didn't put us on this earth to be by ourselves. As soon as he created man, he pulled a rib from him and created a helpmeet, a mate for him that was comparable to him. And I recognize in Proverbs later on from Genesis chapter 2, from which I referred, in Proverbs it says iron sharpens iron. A friend you can have a friend that sticks closer than a brother. I'm just thinking about all these team scriptures. 2 can send 10,000 to fight, whereas 1 can send 1,000 to fight. And this is just, I'm rattling off the top of my head. The family scriptures, whether it's Ephesians 5, Ephesians 6, Ephesians 4, Colossians 3, 1 Corinthians 7, so many scriptures about family and family as a team. But if we cannot manage the family, if we cannot recognize that there is division of labor, that there is a responsibility that everyone must take, the family becomes broken too. They become broken because they feel like they have no part in it. And everybody needs to take ownership in the family. Specifically, kids need to have chores. And they need to have somebody to hold them accountable for chores. Parents need to parent. Parents need to make sure provision is there. Parents, whether co-parenting or same house parenting or blended parenting, they need to work together so that the legacy or the next generation can grow and learn from the character and the skills that those two parents bring together. When two governing parties are working together, the children always fall in line. When a team works on a project together and recognizes the different strengths of each person and is able to follow those different strengths, then the project or the business or the goals will always be accomplished, no matter what things you face. At some point, either you're going to respect what God ordained on the earth, or you're going to keep rejecting it and keep going through the same frustrations, situations, setbacks, divisions that have plagued us when we have so much more to celebrate together versus weather in the storms of being apart. Don't allow division to kill vision. Don't allow brokenness, hurt, selfishness to allow you to be the best you can be. Don't stress yourself out because you can't allow someone else different from you to help you. There's no I in team. But we can do better than me. We can do better than me. Just be careful who you bring in your we circle. Be mindful that you vet people before you decide to bring them in that circle of we or team. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.